Welcome to the ReviewFix.com Entertainment Podcast. This is Patrick Hickey Jr., Editor-in-Chief, joined with some douchebag that calls himself Juan De Jesus. What's up, Juan?
Hey, I like bacon.
I love bacon.
You know, if I would have a plate of bacon in video games, I would be set. But I'm trying to lose weight, so I kind of have to have cantaloupe.
I feel
in
you.
Video games.
Yeah, cantaloupe. Can we, rub the bacon on the cantaloupe?
That would be delicious, but you can't. You gotta suffer through it.
Ugh.
Just like we suffered through some very bad games.
Ugh. This week has been pretty cool, though. There haven't been that many bad games. So.
Well, what are you hitting off? You're hitting off the re-release of Castle of Illusion? That joint was straight up awesome right there.
Maybe. I mean, I was born in '83, so when that game came out, I was 8 years old, and I remember saying to myself, this plays a lot like Mario, but I don't care. It's really good.
Well, at 8 years old, we're not really impressed, but this, we don't know what impresses us, is what I meant to say. But, Castle of Illusion was good in that its gameplay was just as fluid as Mario, which is what you're trying to say.
Absolutely.
So there wasn't really there wasn't a learning curve to learn like that stupid stick and DuckTales that you had to kind of hold down in order to come down on people.
Oh, the sound effects in DuckTales were terrible, even for a Nintendo game. It's like you're bouncing around in a stick, and it's like, brow, brow. You're like, what kind of stick is this? What's inside of that stick?
That is a magical Scrooge McDuck stick.
Yeah, man.
How he could dive into a thing of gold and not be splattered.
Yeah. Yeah, how do you dive into gold and, go under it?
Oh, childhood, we just destroyed you in 5 seconds.
Oh, man. But anyway, I think the key difference between Castle of Illusions, the 1991 version and today is just they've redone the entire look of the game. It looks like Donkey Kong Country on the 3DS, but obviously for the 360 and PlayStation Network. It's just really smooth. It's a lot of fun to play, and the only thing I would say is the control is kind of weak. Jumping on platforms and stuff, and the whole bounce jump is a bit annoying at times. But, I mean, aside from that, it's a lot of fun, and it totally brought back some memories.
Well, do you think it's just that we've gotten used to hitting so many buttons to do things, or is it just the control scheme was different?
The control scheme it's pretty much the same, but you know what it is, Juan? I think I was used to playing that game on a D-pad.
The D-pad.
Seriously. You go to a 15-year-old kid now, and you're like, playing Nintendo with them, and you're like, up, down, left, right. Like, I can't move that fast. I'm like, get out of here, you little loser.
You can't move that fast. You gotta hold these two down and then hit B while hitting select at the same time. Trust me, it's easy.
Oh my god.
No, but I've seen some other re-releases. I've seen some re-releases of PlayStation 1 games, and going back to that era, it's already difficult because the control scheme was so different. Mm-hmm. How is it going back, more than 20 years to this?
I mean, I enjoy the simplicity. It's hard to say. It's not as precise. Mm-hmm. So getting used to timing your jumps properly, and we've been spoiled. Platformers are essentially dead, and side-scrolling, platformers are even deader than dead, if that's possible. So I think it's just a transition. It takes a good half hour, 45 minutes to really get back in the swing of things and make those jumps that you used to make without even thinking when you were a little kid. So I think once you get past that, you're fine.
So how was it having a boss battle at the end of every level? Because I know that's something that's kind of died.
I love it. It's something, I don't know, I feel like as, oh man, I can't believe I'm going to say this. Gamers in their late 20s, early 30s, we kind of relish those things. So yeah. I missed fighting guys at the end of the level instead of just getting to the end of the level and watching a cutscene or something like that. I like that whole building up to something.
And how was the final? I don't know if you got to the final version of Misrabel, but that shit was hard.
Oh, back in the day, it was hard. I haven't gotten up to the final boss yet in the re-release. I've beaten, the first two acts, so it's the tree, and I forgot what the other one was. But, it was great, and everything looks new. So it's like while the gameplay is nostalgic and you can tell that you're playing a redesigned older game just because like the aura behind the game, the soul of the game is so like old and nostalgic. But that fresh coat of paint really adds something. Like a little kid would play this and have no idea that the game is like probably older than their mother. You know.
And, nowadays you can't, that's probably a true statement. So, but did you played it on Game Gear or Master System?
No, I actually still own it on the Sega Genesis.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
I got Sega Genesis.
Yep, I'm looking at my Sega Genesis right now. It's like a cause of disdain in my house. Why do you have this out? Like, it's cool.
So how was it playing another Disney title after this semi-lackluster publishing by the Disney camp?
What do you mean?
How was it playing as Mickey again? Mickey, what was it? The one by Warren Spector?
Oh, see, that's the thing, too. I have to say, I love Warren Spector. Deus Ex, those games are awesome. Like, and Warren's like a great guy to speak to, like in an interview. But I just feel like he was trying way too hard with Epic Mickey to make them like those games, instead of like putting his own stamp on the series. Like, Epic Mickey 2, I played extensively. Epic Mickey 1, I played a bunch. Epic Mickey 2, I played a lot, and by myself, wasn't that much of a fan. But I had my fiance's nephew, and he's 5, and he's playing it, and he absolutely loved it. And then I started getting into it more. It's one of those games that you have to play with a little guy, with a little kid. Otherwise, it's brainless, but it's adorable. And I would say the transition from one to the other, I kind of got the fact that like Castle of Illusion has something that like Epic Mickey and a lot of like newer games will never have. So, yeah.
What do you think that is? What do you think makes Castle of Illusion a little bit more magical?
I would say first off, it's just there's so much. I hate to say that Sega robbed, because they didn't. There's so much emulation of like the whole thing that makes Mario so enjoyable, and it's just very simple control, a clear-cut story, a very straightforward good and evil, and like a connection to the characters, and there's no. The thing that I think killed Epic Mickey 2 was the fetch quests. There were so many things: do this, do that, do this, do that, and Castle of Illusions is just stripped down and simple. It's like, all right, go from this end of the land to this level to this end of the land. It's very straightforward. There's like a cause and effect. You don't get lost in the gameplay. You always know what's coming next. So, and I think Epic Mickey kind of just sidetracked itself a little bit too much. And at the same time, the game's beautiful. It's got a great soundtrack. It makes good use of the Wii and all the systems that it's on, but at the same time, it's just lacking that kind of soul that a good game needs.
Well, I think I know where Disney went with their soul. They completely dumped it into Disney Infinity, which is the game I got to actually play hands-on at the release event. And I'll tell you something. I've never seen that much love from a development team, because they were out there in force helping kids basically create their own worlds. And Disney Infinity, you could, everyone says the cliche, it's a labor of love, but for these people, it really was. Some people working on the entire project, some people working for 200 days, some people working for 2 years. Everyone that was there really kind of understood the game, understood the mechanics of the game, and really put it out there. I mean, Disney has, if this takes off during the holiday season, Disney has revitalized their digital studio, especially by putting such big responsibility in the people at Avalanche Software, because they just did a great job. And have you had any hands-on time with it?
No, I haven't had any hands-on time with it yet, and that's what I was going to ask you. There's so many comparisons to Skylanders. Can you put those to rest? How is it different from Skylanders?
I'll tell you, Skylanders is something that has been both enjoyable and a bane for me, because as an uncle, I have had to search out many a Toys R Us to get the stupid Skylander figures. and spend a lot of money on it. But when I do bring it home to my nephew and my niece, they love it. But the difference between Skylanders and Infinity is very simple. With Skylanders, these children basically have to go with the story that they are given. And with Disney Infinity, they could really do whatever they want. And they have every single tool at their disposal right there in that game package for them to make, an almost, gotta find the word before I keep saying, it's an incredible amount of possibilities that they have, which is basically what storytelling is about. But here's the more important part that makes Skylanders different. I don't have to learn a backstory for these people. If I know who Sully is, I know that he was in Monsters, Inc., he went with Mike Wachowski, they went to Monsters U, and so forth and so forth. I know Mr. Incredible, and I know who Jack Sparrow is. And I know that if I take Jack Sparrow, he's going to act in a specific way. I don't have to start reading. I don't have to start learning backstory. And I could just dive in head first, which I think is an advantage for Infinity. But what Infinity does much differently from Skylanders, which is what I found out at the event, especially from the parent standpoint, is they could just sit down and start playing with their kids and know what Mr. Incredible does. Their child doesn't have to give them that primer. You know, like when you were a kid and you said, hey, uncle, or, hey, grandma, why don't you sit down? And this is what Mario does, and this is how he jumps. People could sit down and immediately start playing. All you got to do is drop the figurine on the base, and it'll load up, and then you could just take the Wiimote and you could just go. And that's something that will make Infinity that much more successful because parents don't have to go, oh, well, I got to figure out what this guy does. And they can sit down and they can literally make memories with their children. And that's what the people at Avalanche Studio Software wanted us to know at that event. And I think that's what's key. And that's what makes Skylanders and Disney Infinity two very different games that will expand that market. But I think the Disney Infinity figures are better made, in my opinion.
With Disney's acquisition of Marvel a couple of years ago, do you think there would be any possibility that one day a Marvel game like this could come out?
Well, I could see it coming. Right now, Marvel has that Lego superheroes coming out, so I don't think they're going to really push it out as fast as possible. And, they were telling me this story about how it was very hard for them to get backing for this project. And one of the key things that brought it over was the quality of the figurines. Lego has a certain standard for quality in their plastics and in their paint. It's like I still have blue spaceman from my Lego set. I know someone has red. He's missing his visor, but he's got everything else. And he looks, a little beat up, but he's still there. Those Lego toys are going to sell, and they're going to take as much of that as possible before ever considering a game like this. So I would say about a year or two out, or when Infinity starts to wane, you might see a Marvel game like this, especially with that specific art style, because the figurines and the character models in the game are made to be used as action figures. They don't have the same proportions that they had in their movies or in their TV shows. They have a figurine look to them. So I can see a little Wolverine. The problem is Wolverine is the best at what he does, and all he does is fucking people up. So, it may be a little difficult, but I can see it happen.
All right, awesome. So, transitioning from the world of Disney, let's talk a little bit about Dragon's Crown. So, if you've got a little kid that's around and enjoyed our Disney conversation, you might want to cover their ears for the next little while, I guess.
Dragon's Crown is what Atlus has been doing is just stupendous. And especially when giving Vanillaware the free reign to just run with its imagination and with its art style. If you guys remember Gauntlet, this is kind of like that, except with a high level of polish and a great little art style. It's a bit on the risque, raunchy side, but it works for the type of game that it is. It works for the story. and it just works to make you, you want to come home and sit down. You want to play as a broad barrel-chested barbarian, and sometimes you just want to cut shit, and that's what you could do in Dragon's Crown. It's really difficult, and sometimes you need other friends because you have 6 playable classes, and they all have the little quirks, their strengths and their weaknesses, and sometimes you can't all just run in there because that red dragon's going to come and he's going to mess you up. And my friends and I have been trying to kill him for a couple of weeks already. And it always happens, someone picks the wrong class. Someone picks the fighter or someone picks the Amazon. But what you really needed was the sorceress or the wizard. You don't have him because your friend hasn't showed up in time, and that's when you don't give him a beer, and you just realize that sometimes you just got to take a step back and realize it's a game, and you need some strategy. And you need your friends to show up. I'm looking at you, Ryan. You need your friends to show up on time. But for real, it's that 2D art style is something that we haven't seen a lot of lately. You had Skullgirls last year, which was phenomenal. Especially with their Kickstarter character creations. But I think Vanillaware really has a hit on their hand.
It's kind of cool, like, how we've been talking for the last, 10, 15 minutes, and we've been discussing, Castle of Illusions and now Dragon's Crown. You think there's still a place for those 2D games out there?
Yes. I think for us, as you said, as older gamers, we hit our 30s, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's be honest. As we've become not the demographic, games have gotten, not as hard.
Yeah.
Not as challenging.
Absolutely.
And now there's a trophy for starting the game sometimes, or there's a trophy for loading it. Where was the trophy in Gauntlet for you making it to level 25 and going, wow, that was hard, and then that shit goes level 26, and you go, what? I just spent $20 in quarters on this thing. Are you shitting me, right?
Oh, man.
Or just sitting there and going, my God, this boss, I'm never going to pass him.
I was thinking about this the other day. Like, I was firing up the PS2, and I hadn't played the PS2 in quite some time, so I didn't even know what was in there. I just turned it on, and my old Action Replay was in there, and it kicked up. It's just like such a relic of the past, because games were so hard back in the day that you were like...
You're like, I'll spend $25 or $30 on the Action Replay.
Just so, like, and I would never use it during, like, actual, like, while I was playing through the game the first time. But, like, I would love to play through, like, Castlevania, Lament of Innocence, or, like, not Castlevania, Lament of Innocence. The Castlevania...
Symphony of Darkness?
Symphony of Darkness, and, like, the Onimusha series, and just kind of go...
I needed the Action Replay for that Onimusha stuff.
Absolutely, go. I would love to, like, go through the entire game with, like, and, like, Devil May Cry with, like, infinite health, just to see, like, all the things that you missed because you weren't good enough to see them the first time through, But it's, like... the games have been made so much easier now, and it's like you wouldn't even need Action Replay on the 360 or the PS3.
I think the last Action Replay was the Game Shark.
Yeah,
the last official one was for the PS2.
It's crazy,
But I mean, look at Atlus. Atlus, were they the ones who released Dark Souls?
Yes. Yeah,
right.
Dark Souls is one of, like, the toughest games. Oh, it was Demon Souls. I think it was Demon Souls.
It was Demon Souls.
Dark Souls is like, yeah.
Right.
Yep. Those games are incredibly difficult.
And no multiplayer.
Yep.
It's just you. There's no music. You're just running around with like, this is the setup. Go do it.
Oh,
right?
man.
And you're sitting there and you're like, oh, what am I supposed to do? Because games hold your hands now.
Yeah.
There's no level. It's like, oh, this is how you run. It's like, let's be honest. When you bought a game with your mom, right, at Sears, because that's where I used to buy games before it was
Funko Land. Oh my God!
I'll give you $6 for your entire collection. There's 42 games.
The best thing about Funko Land, really side thing before you get to, like, where you were going, was when Funko Land first opened, all they would have is the boxes.
Yes.
So you would bring the box up to the front of the store and be like, oh, Super Mario All-Stars. And they're like, yeah, sorry, we don't have this. I'm like, what the hell is the box there? And you would stay there for like 45 minutes, and you'd be a little kid with like $20 in your pocket, and you want to just buy a game and get the hell out of there. And you bring up like 8 boxes, and they don't have any of them. It was like the worst designed store of all time.
Don't get me started on Funko.
Oh,
I still
man.
remember their commercials.
Yes.
With the hand.
Oh, yeah.
But what it was is you would buy the game, right? And you don't know why you picked it. The box art, like, sold you. You know, box art today is pretty generic.
Yeah, I agree.
The box art sold you. You opened it up and you had a manual that had a story. It had the health warnings and everything else, and then it had a note section.
Yes.
That was like 12 or 15 pages.
And you could read it on the way home.
Yes, and you would read it, you would get so amped for the game, and then the game would kick your ass.
Or the worst is when you're reading the manual and you're like, oh, this is going to suck.
And you're like, I made a bad choice.
Oh, man. I remember one time, oh, man, I had a Genesis, and we were selling the Genesis and we were getting a Super Nintendo, and my father used to do stuff like this all the time. I remember one year I wanted Super Contra for my birthday, and he bought like Operation Wolf, and I was flipping out. I was screaming at my mother. I'm like, I didn't want this game. He got it for him. Blah, blah, blah. He's like a big baby, but he got fooled by the box art. We traded in a couple of games, and there was this game Draken for Super Nintendo, and it's like a really bad first-person RPG, and like we're talking like 1994 here. So a first-person RPG on the Super Nintendo is basura, but the cover art was so sick, and he's like, oh, it's only like $17, and I'm like, yeah, but
of course, because there's 50 copies in the back.
Yeah, but I'm like, we only have $19 in credit. Why don't we get Street Fighter 2? We could get for like $8.99, and then we could get something else. And blah, blah. No, let's get this. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, oh man, all right, let's do it. We go home. I'm reading the instruction manual on the way home in the car, and I'm like, oh man, this is gonna suck. He fired the game up. He's playing for like 5 minutes, and he's like, let's go bring it back. Say it don't work.
And that's one thing you can't do anymore.
You can't do that anymore at all.
The guy at Best Buy will go, hold on a sec, and he'll put it in a system. He'll go, the game works for me.
Yeah.
You know, the guy at Funko Land he hated his job so much, he would just exchange it for it.
Oh my god. I remember when Funko Land first started, they wouldn't test the games. Like in front of you.
I remember you could take in bad games. I took in a bad NES. And they just like, all right, here's $50.
Oh, I shouldn't even be saying this because
well, they're not around anymore.
The statute of limitations is probably run out. But oh my god, I remember there was a VCR repair store near my house, and one time he had like 4 or 5 copies of Dragon Warrior 4, and that game was like $65 in Funkoland. So if you traded it in, you got like 30. So I bought like 3 or 4 copies of Mario Duck Hunt, and then I unscrewed it and switched the chip. So I basically got like $125 for 4 copies of Mario Duck Hunt in like 1990.
Kids sitting at home going, "Why is Duck Hunt? I bought Dragon Warrior."
Yep. Oh my god. But you can't do stuff like that anymore. And soon, within like the next 10, 15 years, like everything's gonna be downloaded. So.
No, I'm afraid for that.
So am I. I love looking, like, the entire left side of my house is, like, all video games. And it's like, I look at it, and my fiance's like, this is stupid. This looks stupid. And I'm like, this is so awesome that I could just lean back and just look at, like, an entire lifetime of toys. You know? Oh,
it is.
Man.
It's pretty cool. Look, you're saying that. I'm looking at my Lunar Silver Star Story Complete.
Mm-hmm.
The re-release for the PlayStation.
Yeah.
And that thing's got a sick box with great cover art. I have an art book. I have a strategy guide. I have a cloth map.
Nice.
I have a soundtrack. All in that one little box.
Yep.
Now it's like, oh, here's your download code for the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what if my PlayStation 3 breaks? What if my Xbox decides to crap out? What am I going to... Oh, it's all on there. Oh, sorry, kid.
Yeah.
You know, and then you got to go and...
re-download everything. Ugh.
It's just like... Nothing beats like... Oh, let me put the soundtrack on in my car. And you're singing the Japanese lyrics in your car, and the lady next to you is looking at you like you're crazy. And you're like, what? It's Silver Star Story Complete. Don't you know? The song is the shit.
Oh, my God.
No, but back to Dragon's Crown. Art style. Something we haven't seen in a while, which is that over-the-top, you know, this is fantasy lore. These are orcs. This is a knight wearing exceptionally heavy armor who moves around like he's wearing nothing. A buxom Amazon, a straight up busty wizardess. It's fantastic. And just that it hits that nostalgia note, but it's just different enough, and it's just the leveling system is good enough that you're like, this is so worth it. This is something you should really check out. And for the price, it was $50 for a physical copy. So I'm pretty sure you could get it for around the same price on download on Xbox Live or PSN. Check it out. Do yourself a favor.
Awesome. So we were talking before about Disney Infinity, and the reason why you were Disney Infinity is because at this very frugal publication we call ReviewFix.com, there's usually only like one or two people that can go and cover events. And while you were covering Disney Infinity, I was out in LA and I was playing the new build of WWE 2K14.
Oh, you just out in LA.
Yeah, I was just,
insane.
But I have to say, the first time I saw the trailer for the upcoming game, I was like, oh my god, this looks like crap. This looks really, really bad. And I was at a hands-on in the beginning of August in New York, and I'm playing it. I was like, this is pretty cool. I like this so far. But then when I played the WrestleMania story mode in LA, I was completely, utterly sold. The game's been totally 2K-anized, if I could just make up a name. There's like a ton of polish. Like, you're playing through all these classic WrestleMania matches, and it's like there's cutscenes, and there's before the matches, there's like a couple of minutes like explaining the storyline leading up to the match. It's like, if you're a wrestling geek, you cannot ask for anything better than this. So, the control is better. They added new animations for a lot of the finishers and like the running and striking. It's so much better.
So what was it in that final build that really sold you in comparison to the other build?
See, this is the thing too. It's not even a final build. I would say the first build that I played, there was only 4 selectable characters, and I played through with all 4 of those characters. It was like The Rock, Macho Man Randy Savage, Dolph Ziggler, and I think Stone Cold. And I was playing through it, and I liked it, but it was just like exhibition matches, So I was just kind of getting an idea of what the game was about, and I really liked how fluid the animations were. That was like the thing that stuck out the most the first time I played it. The second time I played it, it was all like the WrestleMania story mode. So now, after the first time I played it, I understand how the game plays and how it works, like the nuts and bolts of it. But now I get to see all this spit shine in this like really cool story mode, and I haven't even played, they haven't even mentioned anything about the Creator Wrestler or any of the other modes that they have in the game. So if I like the game based just on the story mode, which I'm not. In all fairness, I will play the story mode, but it's not going to be the reason why I play the game. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the reason why I usually play these WWE games is I'll just, like, download a shit ton of created characters, and then I'll go in, like, a season, and I'll have, like, my TNA guys, my Ring of Honor guys, my Chikara guys, my WWE and WCW, like, washouts, and, like, guys that are dead and stuff, and I'll have them, like, in a season.
Will you have IRS?
His son's in there now, so I'd rather just play with his son. His son's a lot cooler. So, yeah. Mike Rotunda. He was in the original WrestleMania. He was a freaking tag team champion. It's crazy. I have no life that I know that. But the game is just super smooth.
This is better than Papa Shango DLC.
Oh my god. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Papa Shango will not be in the game. I'm sorry.
That or Doink the Clown. I hope that never comes back.
Doink the Clown passed away, too, like 2 months ago.
I know. Isn't that a shame?
They mentioned him on Raw on Monday, too. They were like, they were comparing Daniel Bryan to Doink the Clown, and I was like, that's just not nice. The guy's dead, dude. But,
poor Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, poor Daniel Bryan. He's like the best worker in the company, and they're comparing him to freaking Doink the Clown. So, but I must say that, like, WWE 2K14 is much, much better than 2013. I played 2013 like the day it came out, and I remember like jumping off the top rope with Daniel Bryan, like doing the headbutt, and he like disappeared for like a split second and was like back there. It was like that scene in Fight Club where they splice in like the one like frame of the penis. It's like something just messed up, but it happened so fast that you kind of don't know, but at the same time you feel sick to your stomach. So I was just saying to myself, I'm like, the animation and like just the whole flow of 2013, I was just, this game is crap. But playing through, I've played 2K14. I would say we're about 3.5 hours now, and I must say that I've enjoyed it immensely, and I cannot wait until I get my hands on the finished product.
So do you think it was better that it made the jump to new publisher?
See, this is the thing too. A lot of people don't know this, but like, Brian Williams.
I think Ukes is still doing it.
Yes,
right?
Ukes is still doing it, and Brian Williams and Corey Ledesma, who are the two main guys at 2K, they're still in charge of the game.
Okay.
So it's like, I don't know how much of a direct influence 2K has in the game, but they hired like THQ's like two top guys. So it's kind of like still the same development team, but what they've done is they've just said like, listen, this game is under like a new house now. Like, let's just go through and like clean it up. It's like perfect example. Dolph Ziggler's finisher is like the animation has stayed the same for like 2 years, and it's just like a really crappy animation. You know, it's just not a good looking move, and in real life, it's a really cool looking move. And from the only thing from the original trailer that I liked, and I noticed it right off the bat because again I am a geek. I was like, whoa, wait a second. The zigzag looks completely different. And then playing through the game, you know, the first time I had the walkthrough with them, I did the zigzag, and I'm like, that looks much, much better. And then, you know, Brian Williams is telling me that they sped up the strikes and they cleaned up the counter system. And I'm saying to myself, all right, these were all things that THQ could have done and should have done, but they didn't do.
But do you think that's more of a publisher thing or a development thing?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's like 2K was like, listen, people have been complaining about these things for years, and now that we have the game, you're going to fix them now. You know? So it's a better fluidity to it. There's much more fluidity. I think the graphics are actually better. A lot of people have said that they don't think the game is as good looking as it should be. Once you play it, the graphics are much better than like 2013 and 2012, and the graphics are better, the physics are better, there's more options, there's more bells and whistles, there's more features, there's more of everything. So it just plays a lot better than the other ones.
So, I mean, besides DLC, you know, you have the Ultimate DLC right there, you know, and you got to talk to him, and that was
my
the
God.
Ultimate Warrior.
He's a character. I'm sure you know that like he legally changed his name to Warrior like 15 years ago. The interview went really well. But after the interview was over, I asked if I could take his photo, and he was like, "Well, only if you're in it." And I'm like, I look at the publicist, and the people over at DKC are awesome publicists. They really like take care of the writers, make sure they have everything that they need and stuff. And I was like, "Yeah, I don't want to be in a picture with you. I don't need to take a picture with you. It's not professional." And he didn't get it, you know? Mm-hmm. And I was like, no. And then the publicist jumped in and was like, no, he just needs your picture for the article. And he was like, oh, okay. But it's like he kind of didn't understand, I guess, like, what, and I hate to say it like this because it's going to come off nasty, but like how real journalists operate.
Mm-hmm. No, I get it, because you can't inject yourself into a story like that.
Yeah, like I don't want to take a picture with you. I got to speak with you for like 20 minutes. That's like my autograph. That's like my photo. I can listen to that audio whenever I want. That's so much better to me, you know? But he doesn't play any of the games. You know?
I think, do you think it's because he's been so far removed?
I don't think he plays video games, period. Because, like, we were trying to ask him, and he was just like, you know, I want them to feel the power of my character and what it inspired and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all right, that's cool. But one of the other writer that was in the interview with me from Games Radar, Jason Finelli, really nice guy, he asked him, he's like, you know, do you play the games? And he was kind of, like, trying to dodge it, but he eventually said, no, you know, I don't play them. So I think it's more of like a marketing thing. Fans have wanted to see Ultimate Warrior in a video game for years, and I think, again, too, I don't think it was something that like 2K, kind of had the pull to pull off. But 2K is a little bit different. They'll go that extra mile to get something like that done. So I think that says a lot about the franchise moving forward. I cannot wait to see this franchise on like the PS4 and Xbox One. So it's going to be even better.
You're going to see, especially with that little bit of that push from that graphical hardware. Let's see how real it could get.
Absolutely. And
even though these guys are over the top, I don't expect, realistic proportions. Especially, since The Rock is literally becoming a rock.
Yeah, that Hercules diet. Oh, man. We were just talking about the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, and I have to say, I interviewed the executive producer of the NBA Live 14 series last week, and I have to say that they have all of the right answers so far. I mean, I just totally brought up to Sean O'Brien, you guys have not come out with a game in quite some time, and 2K kind of owns the basketball scene. How do you guys, respond to that? And he was just totally straightforward and like, listen, we have a lot of work to do, and if fans and gamers are weary of what to expect from us, we don't blame them. And I was totally taken aback by that. But I mean, I've been playing EA games since like 1988, so I mean, I already have a deep love of the company and like what they do. But to be that open and that honest about like what they have to get done, it really like struck me as cool. I don't know.
Well, they had a pretty well publicized cancellation.
Yeah.
it was up to like, oh, the game is coming out in a couple of weeks. Oh, guess what? We've canceled it. And that's not a confidence booster right there. It's almost as bad as, what was the game that was canceled it's almost as bad. Remember the WWE Raw from the Nintendo 64? That just wouldn't come out?
Yeah.
And then when it came out, it was subpar, but everyone loved it because it was the only Raw game coming out.
Was
Raw is War?
Yeah, Raw is War. Oh my god. And it was like 25 buttons to do like one move.
Yes.
It was such a bad game.
N64 controller, which, you had to like parse out. You have that half.
It was so funny too. Because it's like at the same time, the WCW games were insanely good.
Oh, was it WCW Monday Nitro?
No. It was WCW versus NWO World Tour, and then WCW NWO Revenge.
Yes.
And the control was so simple and fluid.
It was just a lot of fun. My N64, it had a problem with the sound.
Oh,
man. Just sit there and play it.
Which doesn't say much, because the 64 had fucking terrible sound to begin with.
Yeah, but this had like no sound. It would just go blip, 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 and my friends and I would just and we would just sit there and go like, I'm gonna fucking kick your ass. Oh yeah, this is like Ultimo Dragon's coming in, Ultimo Dragon.
Oh man, playing a Nintendo 64 with like the sound full volume was like if you were playing like a WCW or a WWF game, it was like taping like the raw audio from your TV and then playing it through like a freaking Nokia like smartphone from like 1998. It was like, and you're like, do you smell? Oh my god!
You said it.
And you loved it though. You loved it. You thought it was like the greatest thing in the world. Oh man, but I have to say I haven't gotten to play it yet, and there aren't even like any real screenshots online yet. But the video tutorials of their new bounce technology, they're basically changing the dribble physics, and they have one of the top guys from the FIFA series working on it.
They're going hardcore with this.
Absolutely. The handle animations, the dribbling animations are freaking awesome. And I'm like, I'm a 2K basketball guy through and through, but I will definitely give NBA Live 14 a try just because it's new, it's different, and you can tell that they've really tried. This isn't just like a coat of paint. And the fact that they're not even releasing it on current generation consoles, that they're just going to release it on the Xbox One and PS4, is bold. It's like they're going all in. Mm-hmm. So you kind of have to respect that.
All right. Well, let's see what happens because live was a mainstay in my Super Nintendo. Let's see if it makes its way back into my next gen console.
Oh yeah, I mean, even in the days of the PlayStation and the beginning of the PlayStation 2, like Live always had a dedicated fan base, and then all of a sudden the 2K series, like on the Dreamcast, when those games went from the Dreamcast to like all the other consoles, EA must have went like, ah, fuck.
We got to step our game up.
Yep.
That was when EA was undergoing their expansion.
Yes.
Remember, and they had 989, and they brought out a bunch of other studios, especially Chicago-based studios, which I think were doing sports games, which is doing EA Sports, right?
Yep.
And I think they said, okay, we got to bring it, and they brought it, and they basically killed the Live series.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing I think they don't make up in is baseball.
Oh yeah.
Right, and that's because the show's got it on lock, but Sony got it on lock if you got a PS.
Yep. And that's I hate to say it because I do love my Vita to an extent, and I just got a review voucher for the new they released the Walking Dead series on the Vita, and it's amazing, and I'm enjoying that. But aside from that, I mean, the only real reason why I have Vita is for the show.
And that's something that I think when the next gen comes out, there was a rumor going out that there was going to be a Vita bundle, and that would probably be the best thing they could do.
Oh yeah.
It's give me the Vita because if not, I'm not gonna buy it. Right? Give it to me at a reasonable price with the system.
Yeah, if they were smart, like $50 or whatever, like $50 more,
Yeah,
like
and just take you've already taken the hit on the Vita. It's been out for 2 years. It's been out for a lot longer, right? Since the PSP.
Yeah.
Let's take it through. You've taken a substantial hit with the PSP. Now you got this Vita, which isn't a bad piece of technology.
No, yeah, it's not at all.
And if you see the screens and the gameplay to Killzone Mercenary, someone's getting it right. And Uncharted Golden Abyss, there are companies that get it right, and they know how to do it. So, especially since you've seen the video for that PS4, the crossplay.
Yes.
If you have a Vita, you could say, hey, I want to finish playing it on the Vita. Someone wants to watch the TV. Or I want to go ahead and tell it to download from my Vita at work. They'll do it. And, that's the way, one, to sell units for the people who bought the PS4 and say, oh, wait, the Vita's pretty good. Let me go out and pick up a Vita, and then you'll make up some money that way. But if you bundle it and you give us good games, which is something that, I think Game Gear did right, and even the original Game Boy had a weak launch, but it followed up with like a library of awesome titles.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's what the 3DS does right. And the 2DS will do right. It's just basically you guys got to support it. And Call of Duty Black Ops the Classified isn't it because that game sucked, and two, that game didn't understand it. It didn't understand the Vita and the power of the platform, and you basically have a small PS3 in your hand. You got to put it out there.
I mean, I hate to say it, but it's like I'm looking at like my Vita like library right now, and it's like aside from the Show 12, the Show 13, and like Little Big Planet, everything else I could kind of like throw out the door right now.
And you wouldn't feel bad about it.
I wouldn't feel bad, but then not only would I not feel bad, but nobody would fucking take it. Like they would just lay on the floor outside and nobody would take it.
Like red-headed stepchildren.
Oh, like Mortal Kombat, Katamari, what's it called? Hot Shots Golf I love, but come on. No, those games would just sit there and they'd like...
Those games don't sell systems.
Absolutely. They'd be like McDonald's French fries on the street. They would just stay there in the same state for like weeks and like...
But unlike McDonald's French fries, they would look different after 2 years.
Yes. Oh man, but is there anything else you want to touch upon before we hit the hay?
Well, you know what, guys, pick up Payday. One, because if you like Heat, right, that was a fantastic movie.
Oh, I love that movie.
Town, do yourself the favor, pick up Payday 2. Payday the Heist was a good little hit that came out on Steam and came out on PSN in early 2011. And if you've seen the first couple of minutes of The Dark Knight, it's kind of like that. You have the clown masks. You have the blue latex gloves. You have the drill. You just don't have to shoot the driver. You just have to make sure. It's one of those games that it's visceral. And all you do is get rich. And you don't know how addicting that could be. There's no better feeling than getting $125,000 payday at the end of. Oh, I knocked over a bank. I made $125,000. Some people don't see that a year. Even if it's virtual money, makes you feel a little special. Makes you feel a little special, And the people at Overkill Software, they have a lot of bugs on the console versions. I will tell you. But that's because of the certification process for the patches. They can push out the patches faster on the PC over their system, over Steam, and it'll just go straight through. There's some patches with some classes, like the technician and his drills, and a lot of people don't use that class, and it's because, especially on consoles, because they haven't been patched yet. But you gotta wait as soon as those patches go gold, and they'll be pushed out, and everything will be better. The game has good customization on your guns. Unfortunately, you have to win them in a random game of chance after every payday. You don't just buy them. And you get a selection of masks that you can make your own. You have skill trees that let you cut open safe deposit boxes or let you control the crowd better. You could convert enemies. There's nothing better than having a cop show up. You tell him to get on the ground and cuff himself, and then you go over and tell him to pick up a gun against his friends, and he does it. So I'm just saying, I had two of those guys, and they're like, "Oh, where'd these two guys show up?" I was like, "Oh, I converted them." And we held down the bank, and we made out with $3 million worth of cash, and it felt fantastic. Because I know I can't do that in real life, and I'm not going to do it in real life for anyone listening out there. If we have activated an echelon or anything in the NSA, just letting you know. Not to get political, but in reality, it's a good, fun game that works a lot better with your friends, like Epic Mickey that we were talking about, like Disney Infinity. Sometimes you just need a friend to play a game with. This is definitely one of those.
Let's just make sure that they're not late like some people.
Like you, Ryan. I'm looking at you, Ryan. Yo, I am still angry about that.
Oh, man. So for Patrick Hickey Jr. and contributor Juan De Jesus, we'll talk to you guys later.
I really wish I had some bacon now.
I have cantaloupes.
But bacon-wrapped cantaloupes on the grill.
You said we couldn't do that.
Just between you and me.
All right.
All right.